So, Dr. Casnatti, Dr. Casnatti, council member of Europe Nostra, is an architect, restorer, specialized in cultural heritage preservation with a focus on Armenian heritage. Her work bridges local expertise and international cooperation to promote sustainable preservation. And through the Ereroyuk project and other initiative, she advocates for inclusive, evidence-based approaches to heritage safeguarding. And so we will be hearing the talk on decoding medieval Armenian building techniques through material analysis and conservation design. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So we are jumping completely another different epoch and time. So I want to present the studies that have been implemented on the Basilica of Ereğli, which is a very unique monument that is on the border between Armenia and Turkey, and was a monument that was quite peculiar and quite unique in Armenia. So it was in the center of the studies on Armenian architecture since the very beginning, since the very creation of Armenia as a state, as a nation. So we have the first drawings that are from the 19th century. Then we had some images and also people coming from Italy to try to have different perception and drawings. So we have also paintings. It's a monument that was always in the center of the discussion about Armenian architecture and about the history of Armenian architecture, because it's quite different as a structure from Armenian architecture, but it is very Armenian and recalls some shapes of Iranian architecture. We have also some pictures depicting the monument as it was in the beginning of last century. So from that we could investigate and understand which were the parts that were collapsed in this last century. And since the beginning, in 21 was created the Soviet Armenia, and then in 28 already the first restoration campaign started, and it was one of the first that was in the focus, and so this involved some works for changing the lower stones. And so the monuments started to change, and all the buildings that were built all around were somehow destroyed and took away. We have many surveys and projects. Some of them, it was very difficult to research them because we have all these projects, but only part of them was really implemented. So for the study we collected all the information, and so a mission of Italian experts went to Armenia in the 70s, so they collected all the material that were there, and luckily they could take from the archives the drawings that after got burned. And they could create publications, coordinate experts from different nations. And what is interesting about the history of this monument and the studies that were implemented around it is that many experts from every country, I mean, there were experts from 11 different countries that worked on the projects for the preservation of or the study to try to understand all the mysteries that are linked to this construction. Sadly, in the end of the 12th century, there were different archaeological campaigns that simply were aimed to take away the different constructions that were there, to find the original ones, but without any stratigraphical study. So instead of understanding more on the monument, in reality, they took away a lot of information that now is not anymore available. So it was very difficult when we started the research and started to find out where was the original paving, and the different stratigraphy. And the person that you see there is an expert of the French CNRS. He's an expert of stone cutting, so he researched all the stone surfaces in order to understand which were the different people working there. He understood how the field yard was organized, how many people were working there to build the church, and so this was very helpful then to understand the stratigraphy and the different layer of this monument in order to try to understand which was its original shape and which were the different layers. Because also digging in the under the pavement, we found that it was burned in the 7th century, so it was partly rebuilt. And so the history of the techniques that can be revealed by studying the stone surface were somehow confronted with the tools that are still in use in Armenia, that are exactly the same and are leaving on the stone surface the same traces that we can find on the monument now. Then the surveys that were implemented in Armenia in the 50s proved not to be very precise, so we had to call some experts to do some topographic surveys, and other experts both from Italy and from the Netherlands to study the stratigraphy of the walls, which was quite complicated due to the fact that the church was restored several times without leaving any clear traces of the work that has been implemented. This was indeed a very important monument in the past, as the features that we're finding are demonstrating. So we found in the windows some traces of painting, which are very, very rare in Armenia because are not conserved, because these are on gypsum, which is not resisting very well and is not very much studied. So in Armenia we have some frescoes on gypsum, which are also rare in Italy. This is the different shapes painted in red, white, and green. So all what we learned from the monument was mapped on the drawings, and these information were very useful both from the historical study but also from the structural study and from the studies that we needed to then design the projects of preservation. Archaeological excavation by a group of experts from France started in 2009 and lasted until 2016, where the financing was finished, and now they are planning to restart some works. And these were very interesting. So they found that there were traces of the use of this land before the times of the Christian use, and so this was indeed a place where the worship was important and it was a very sacred place. And this is also demonstrated by the fact that we have this apsis also on the external galleries, because here was a place of pilgrimage where a lot of people was coming. And it's also demonstrated by the fact that the church has a double dedication. And the archaeological excavations revealed incredible things. So we had in the south of the church a cemetery for toddlers, and most of them had an elongated crane. Which was quite unbelievable, because this was a cemetery of the 6th century. So we didn't have until now some demonstration of this use of elongating the crane in that age and in Christian periods. So this is still under study from anthropologists and archaeologists. And so it was also studied the stratigraphy of the land all around the monument, because there was a sort of dam, which is very interesting and not still studied enough. There was a study of an art historian about all the decorated stone, although we have only part of them, because at the times of Mar in 1907 was created a museum of the most beautiful decorated stone from Ereğli, and this museum was put in the city of Ani, so then it was completely destroyed and we've lost everything. And so we had also studied with comparisons the kind of roof that was on this small building that could be a mausoleum. The biggest, the cathedral was covered with brick, so we found some pieces of the brick, but the small one was covered in stone. And it was quite peculiar that we had to go to see examples in Turkey to see how the tiles could be in that time, because in Armenia, no one tile of the 6th century is preserved, because they were restored like this one in Sanhain, and so we could not find any example. And so also this is something to think about, food for thought, why we should lose everything with the restoration and not use the restoration to preserve the memory and the real quality of the monument. So this is a virtual reconstruction after all these studies that Patrick Donabedian made of how was the shape of the basilica. This reconstruction is still not approved by all the scholars because indeed this monument gives a lot of question marks, more question marks than answers. So we have the columns that are different levels, so we found different layers, and it's very difficult to understand which was the layer when the building was complete. In 2016, and we spoke about Europa Nostra initially, Europa Nostra has two different flagship programs. One is the European Heritage Hub, which is finalized to create a consortium to create different connections about among the different countries. And the other one is the 7 most endangered. So there is a program where all of you can apply when you find that a monument is particularly endangered. So the criteria is it really endangered? Is that really a European value? And it is feasible for Europa Nostra to do something, to have some impact in supporting this project. So Ereğli was selected in this list in 2016. And since then, we are working together with the Europa Nostra, and for the occasion of the visit, we could do some shoring of the structure that was collapsing. So already a small achievement has been done, but I mean, Europa Nostra is supporting with expertise, with connection, with networking, but we always have the problem of the funding. So this is very difficult. So we mapped also not only the different layers of the construction, but also the stony materials and the deterioration. And so a lot of chemical analysis and physical analysis were implemented on the materials. Both the tuff, which is, we were speaking about the materials that are available, so Ereğli is very near to a cave, where a quarry, where tuff is brought, and it's very near to a river from where they could collect the small stones for the mortar. And we did a lot of studies of the mortars, and we found different layers of mortars, so they are still under study in University Leida. And also we translated the ICOMOS glossary of deteriorated stones because we didn't have in Armenian the knowledge and the words to explain the different kind of deterioration. This will be published soon. So this is the mapping. Then the structure is very important when you have to say the monument. So we were questioning us, this monument can stand other earthquakes. So we studied the earthquake, the seismicity of the zone. We studied the techniques of construction, which are very spread also here in Georgia and I think also in Azerbaijan. This type of construction that in Armenian is called midi, with two external layers of tuff stone and interior layer of pieces of stone and lime mortar. So this is derived from the Roman opus cementitium, and it is very good technique, which gives very good results in terms of elasticity and resistance. And so we found out that this monument, after studying also all the cracks of the different patterns and the different way of the monument can behave during the earthquake, we found out that finally it is not so much endangered by its shape, so it's possible to preserve it like it is. We studied also the rains and the climate there, and we studied also how it is the rock and the foundation of the monuments in order to understand how much the walls are wet, because this is not only influencing the quality of the deterioration of the stone, but also we found out from different studies that the wet masonry is less resistant. And so we need, once we are doing the 3D modeling of the structure to understand that it's resistant to earthquake, we need to insert in the model data about the resistance of the stone, and so we need to differentiate the parts that are more likely to be wet and the other that are dry. And once you put everything in the computer, you can then propose some preservation, and then check if this is enough and this is effective. And so this is the studies that have been done after to demonstrate this. So the whole study won an Europa Nostra award in 2023, and this is another flagship program of Europa Nostra. All of you can apply if you have a good project. It's a very challenging program because we receive projects from all the European countries, and usually each year a lot of projects are selected, and so we have here in this room 2 winners. So congratulations to you, and I mean this is very important because it's also useful to raise awareness, to create the awards are given during summits, cultural heritage summits, in the presence of EU delegates, so it is also a way to promote your country and to promote what is being done by the civil society in your country. So I think I support you. Please apply because this is very important and very useful, and also to promote your studies. Also, it's a very good occasion to create connections between different experts, and it's very nice. So finally, after so many years, we started a few preservation works that are starting from the easiest operation, but the most important is the cleaning and the grouting and the protection of the surface and the stitching. So while doing this cleaning work, we took some samples of all the mortars so we can complete our studies on the stratigraphy of the monuments. So thank you very much for your attention.